Let's do it. Daily game design. Last night I was over at Other Realms and walked in to the game 11. So 11 is a soccer or football management game. So you are like the club owner or manager, I guess it's manager. And there's a fair amount going on. It's not the 26th, is it? And anyway, I thought there were some neat ideas. I think it took us, let's say there was like a 20-minute teach, maybe slightly more in terms of a rolling teach. But what stood out to me, let's see. So it took us an hour and a half to play through maybe half of a game, around half. Anyway, I thought there were some cool ideas. I watched a few reviews this morning that crystallized some of my impression. I think I watched, what's his name, Board Game Bollocks, and Tom Bassel, the Dice Tower guy. And Tom Bassel gave it a 5 out of 10, which is pretty bad for him. And the Board Game Bollocks guy said it was worth playing, but he had some criticisms. Partly what I want to do here this morning is brainstorm a list. Brainstorm like a list of, what would this be, like tips or almost like a strategy guide to teaching games. I think about this stuff a lot. I love it, and I always want to improve my process. But I think I've learned a fair number of lessons. I watched a video yesterday that made me want to make my own. I think there were some really cool and helpful ideas there. But the first one, like the most essential, I don't remember the guy mentioning, which is to know your audience. I think that's that's got to be the starting point, right? Like that needs to be number one, is know and be sensitive to your audience, because that will have to do with how you shape the teach, right? So I wanted to start there. But anyway, played 11, most like a half a game of 11, and you know, I wonder, there were some cool ideas. I actually didn't mind. So in the game, you really are looking after pretty much. I mean, I don't know soccer and what it takes to run a soccer club at all, but based on the game, I feel like I understand better some of the things they have to, some of the complexities they have to deal with, to manage. So you're doing everything from hiring staff to and hiring players. I guess the easiest thing was like buying and selling players. I don't know how sports talk about that these days. To upgrading the stadium, finding sponsorships, to then actually like playing matches with like bot teams, like automated teams. They were kind of like these games that just kind of resolve themselves. So the flow of the game. Oh, there's you start with the board of directors. And the board is just these 3 cards that have different values, different interests that are displayed, like represented in dice rolls, in a die roll 1 through 6. And they prefer certain types of outcomes, so they would weight. Like, if 1 through 3 is yellow, and then 4 and 5 is blue, and 6 is red, that means they're really interested in the money aspect of the decision making, whatever it is. There's like a player focused aspect, and then there's I forget what red is. Anyway, so at the start of the round, or even at the very start of the game, you roll for what this board of directors wants, and then it's basically an event that's variable. That has some effect. Maybe it's a good effect and a bad effect. Maybe it increases your income, or gives you a free player, or I don't know. It's just this random event that maybe you kind of feel like, okay, that's kind of cool. Well, at least it was on me to choose my board. So, anyway, like, okay, fine. And then you start taking actions, and the actions, there's like a bunch of like main actions that have to do with your resources, and like getting upgrades, swapping out players. So I thought that was kind of cool. I got lucky that I had this, that I happened to pick a board that increased my logistics tokens, and logistics pretty much lets you take an extra turn by spending 2 tokens. So the two of the 3 board members I got, which was basically random. Like, I wasn't thinking at all. I know I don't know the game. I'm not thinking strategically at all. I'm just picking 3 that look cool or sound cool. Well, they happen to give me 2 extra logistics tokens, which turn into an extra action each round. And there's flexibility there too, because I take my main action and then I can spend 2 of these tokens to take another action. And I just ended up being ahead of most people most of the game. We played a 4-player game in these action tokens. And so I was able to take a few more actions than everybody else. It doesn't mean I was super efficient. It doesn't mean I didn't make any mistakes. But it just turned out that I got things going somehow. And also some of my cards just aligned well. There's some objectives, like private objectives you can go for. Anyway, I thought that part of the game was actually fun. Like, the upgrades, looking for nice interactions between cards and between different, like the players. And anyway, then the games were not that interesting, but they were okay. They felt they felt fiddly without really having to move a lot of stuff around. I don't know what that is. It was just kind of like doing homework. And then that also, like, the outcome of those games, you're just kind of, you look at a little soccer field. You flip over your opponent. They show us their card represents a soccer field with where their players are and the strength of their players and what those players are doing. And then you just go through this, like, essentially mechanical process of comparing where your guys are on the field and where their guys are on the field, and you score goals or get blocked or whatever. And it was okay. I mean, there's a paragraph of text on the front of the card that hints at what that team is good at and what they're interested in. So you can hire and fire players based on that. But you only get 3 actions every round. I mean, plus action tokens, or plus logistics tokens. So you can sort of anticipate things and shift things around, but, like, not really. Like, but maybe as a manager, maybe that's how it feels. Like, you just do your best, set up the game as best you can, and then the thing sort of resolves itself. So it might represent the feeling well, but is it a fun game? I don't know. Anyway, it was a cool experience, and I'm glad we did it as a group. I'm glad I've seen it on the table a few times, but anyway, after Other Realms, I cruised over to Armchair for a little bit. I should update you a little bit too on I should update you too on my vehicle. That really affected yesterday, and also there was like some melting down uh, for my online classes. So I woke up, was starting to get texts from my friend Eric, who is essentially an expert mechanic, and he was giving some feedback and giving me some ideas and instructions. And then I streamed for an hour. I should make it a point to check emails before I stream. Students, if you ever watch this, you'll see that as a good idea. And then, anyway, yeah. So right after the stream, Eric came over, and I did cancel my my subbing yesterday, which was kind of a bummer. So then Eric came over, had a look, and his diagnosis was that it was alternator. So it's not that I blew up my engine, although I was very low on oil. The serpentine belt wasn't a problem, I guess. It was the alternator. So, this is me getting a little engine education. So I think what I ended up seeing is that my battery was running low, so low that it didn't do a great job powering the computer, my car. So it's like maybe it was a low voltage thing, or there just wasn't enough power. The battery was running everything on my car, and anyway, as the charge, fell or ran out, then the car kind of started doing weird stuff, and that's why I lost my power steering. That's why all this stuff happened. It looked like it could be other things, but anyway. So when my neighbor gave me a jump, and we let it sit for just a little bit, then I had just enough. There was just enough power in the battery to get me to a parking spot, which is amazing. That's great, but anyway, I would never have put it together that it's just that the alternator wasn't giving any power to the battery, and that the battery had just enough charge to run a few things but not run them well, right? So anyway, so he came over, we charged, we jumped my car, let the battery charge for a little bit. And then one of the more interesting and exciting adventures that I've had in recent times. The challenge was, and I wonder if you've ever done this before. I wonder if you've ever done this. The challenge was, let's get to the conference office, which is maybe a 5-minute drive on a good day. It's pretty close. Get to the conference office without using your brakes. That was the challenge. What a good time. For some reason, I love that stuff. Actually, this is what I wanted to find. So I have these teaching tips before. I had these. So I'm going to add these below and just kind of check on them, refer back to them as I build this list. So anyway, he said, well, remember you got your e-brake. So what was cool is identifying these little problem areas on the drive and trying to anticipate them and work around them. First example, I'm not going to talk through the whole drive, but just some fun moments. So first example is the end of my little street that goes onto the main street is steep. It's pretty steep. So it's also a one-way. So turning right, I knew I could do that, basically a rolling stop. And there's not a lot of traffic on my lane. The lane next to me the lane on the other side of the street is to the H1. So there's a lot of traffic going to the highway. But anyway, so to pulling up, anticipating that steepness, using my e-brake. And what I learned was that I shouldn't use my brakes because the brakes power these power hungry or energy hungry lights. I never thought of that. 3 big lights. So I didn't have much charge in the battery. So the point was, you've got to keep all of that for running the computer for the engine. And I never would have processed any of this stuff, right? So, pull up above that area where it gets really steep using my e-brake. And I can see kind of far down, there's a gap in the tree in a building. I can see the traffic. And so then I knew I could like kind of cruise down slowly and turn a right, take a right without trouble, without getting, getting into anybody's way. So that was like the first little puzzle. And then it's just all of it was just managing speed, trying to hit green lights. Coming up, a lot of it was uphill, so that actually was really helpful. And then the last thing was I basically ran out of power right at the conference office, and so I took a wide turn. Like I'm on 3 lanes. I went all the way to the left lane and then cruised over to the right and went up the little kind of a little hill, a little embankment up into the parking lot. It was just like a fun challenge, like to figure out how to not use my brakes. Anyway, so then we put a full charge in the battery. I went down to O'Reilly's. They tested my electrical system, and it looks like it's the alternator. Anyway, so this afternoon, I'm gonna go to Eric's house. He's got all the right tools, and I'm gonna go change my alternator. It'll be my first time ever with such a project. So, it was kind of a loss of a day, and I was able to like work on emails and catch up with stuff for my class while some of the stuff was going on, or while we were waiting for the charge and all that kind of thing. But anyway, glad to get some resolution for that. You know what? This makes me think I should also change my brakes today. Might be asking too much. It was really helpful to have Eric's connection to a corporate account or a commercial account. Wow, you get pretty good deals like that. So appreciated that. Anyway, I want to work on teaching tips here for a little bit. And some of these I haven't thought about in a while. I'm going to read through what I have here. Review the rules before teaching. So that will be represented here as know the game well beforehand. Okay, let me look here. Because I do find that the teach is a very sensitive period. Like, if it's a bad teach, it's possible it's going to be a bad game. It's possible you're going to lose players before you even start. So this is, well, anyway, I am going to focus here for a little while on just how to teach board games. And it turns out that I think this actually lines up with just thinking about teaching in general. Which is one of my passions. Actually, I was talking with Jana yesterday in the office, and she's talking about running a children's choir, and a bunch of these things that I'm thinking about with games also apply in teaching anybody something new. So, knowing your audience, know the game well beforehand. I don't know if I should make some comments about implications here. Like, knowing your audience means knowing their experience level, knowing their energy levels, knowing their preferences. So, experience level, energy level, preferences. Now, you're not going to know all this stuff all the time, but if you get any indication on any of these things, this actually came out. I talked through some ideas, some thoughts I had after Monday. I talked through those yesterday. Because I got the sense that we had 2 pretty serious mismatches on Monday night in terms of fit of the game and the player. So that had to do generally with experience level. Their energy was fine, but anyway, if you pick the wrong game when the energy level is in the wrong place, that's also not going to go well. That was the case on a Monday when a friend of mine, she hasn't come back actually, she broke down in tears because the game was too much for her mental state. That really happened, and I'm not cool with that. So anyway, and then their preferences. You'll know that some people like certain types of interactions. They like thinking about certain kinds of things. They don't like having certain feelings. So that would show up in preferences. Know the game well beforehand. This is an issue I have. Actually, another thing on Monday night was that I guess I'm also not meaning to make an order here necessarily. I think these are kind of priorities in a way. But anyway, know the game well beforehand. So I think we're talking about, no, I'll just leave it like that. Know the game. Just know the rules. Last Monday, I taught or hosted Rumble Nation, taught a guy who was playing for the first time, and it happened that there were two other players. Was it three other players? Two other players who played before, and one of them played the previous week and learned from somebody else, and that person just missed a couple of key rules. And I've done that. I did that with My Village. This is a game I've been looking forward to trying again, like for a while. Brought it to the table, read through the rule book, I thought, watched a couple videos, missed a couple of key things, and couldn't find them in the rule book. And the game just melted down, and the guys wanted to quit partway through. So that was pretty disappointing. But that's because I didn't know the game well. And it might be that you have limitations in your memory. You might know that, oh, there's this little weird rules exception that is hard for me to remember. If it's hard for you to remember, it's going to be hard for a new player to remember, probably. So I know some people, there's actually we had it last night for 11, and another friend of mine, George, he makes these cheat sheets of rules that condense the rule book down to like the essentials, and I think that's, or like the important stuff that you might forget, and I think that's really, really cool. So know the game well beforehand. I think this is I still like this idea. Before you start, mention the length and complexity of the game and whether there is negative player interaction. I like this a lot. So this was an issue. This was a Monday night issue where the person got into a game that was longer than she expected. And that's not always bad. I don't think we should always micromanage people's experiences. But if they don't know what they're getting into, I think I mentioned this yesterday, I think I prefer to scare people away from a game that's not a good fit than to have somebody sit through a whole game or a partial game that is definitely not a good fit. So I think it's better to say, okay, this game's probably going to take an hour and a half, and it's pretty involved. So if you're not feeling great energy-wise, so I mean, I usually pick games that I think are going to be a good fit for the audience. But like, let's say for instance that somebody shows up on I've got a game set up on like a church game night, and somebody wants to come and sit down at the table, then that's when I'll mention this stuff and I'll try to scare them off. If they decide still after I've described these things that they want to try it, well, then they know it's on them. And but I still make it clear that they can walk away if they feel a need to. And I think this is important. Negative player interaction. I think even though it would be nice if everybody just kind of handled their emotions well all the time, I've seen the reality, and that is that not everybody is ready to be attacked. Not everybody's ready to sit through somebody stealing their stuff, right? So I think it's important to say, okay, this is a prime example was, or anytime I'll play the game Arboretum. I don't mind Arboretum. I think there are some really interesting problems in Arboretum. Great tensions built into that little game. But I almost lost a friend playing, and he'll never play the game again. Because the resolution of the game often comes down to, I'm keeping the cards in my hand that you wanted, and because I kept these cards, it means the thing that you spent pretty much the whole game building is going to be worth nothing. And I just got lucky. I just drew these cards out of the deck. You didn't get them. I got them. I get to be smug at the end of the game because I just made all of your work worthless. So you have this build up. You feel really good about your Arboretum, about these trails, these paths of trees you built. And then you just didn't get the right cards, so that, this 30 minutes of play just turned into dust, right? And not everybody handles that very well. So I warn people about stuff like that. Okay, now I still think some of these things are true. I'm going to read through these and then I might reorganize or reevaluate them. Review the rules before teaching. We got that. Before you start, mention the length. We just put that in. Bonus, describe the hook or the main interesting types of decisions. This is going to have to do with set healthy expectations. And healthy might be a tricky word here, but what I mean is I want to direct players to a few things to look forward to that are going to be doable, that are going to be like achievable this game, right? Like let's say it's a more like a higher complexity game. I want to help players mentally prepare for not understanding, for not being able to read the game that well. Like I see it a lot. Players get frustrated that their first game doesn't go well. They want to perform better. They wish they had more points. They look back at turn 5 and they realize, I should have done this. Well, who cares? This is your first game. I call these discovery plays. This is not something to spend any emotional energy on. It's just get to know the game. And, the more games you get to know, the more games you're going to be able to get to know quickly. So this was similar to my experience with 11 yesterday. I just, at random, without any meaningful strategic thought, I started with the board of directors. Well, cool. It turns out that those were good, decent choices for the other cards that I drew or the other things that came up during the game. It just worked out for me. But I don't need to own that result. There's nothing about that result says anything about me, right? And I think that should be about games in general, but certainly about games that you don't know anything about when you sat down. So set healthy expectations. Like one of the things I say, especially to brand new players, is something like, okay, now this is the part of the game that's going to feel, this is the part of the teach. This is the part, I'm teaching them and we're starting to like look around the board and like kind of try to integrate or absorb some of the main ideas and the things you want to care about, right? So I'll say, okay, this is the part where things are going to start feeling overwhelming. So I think by almost by it's I don't know what kind of psychology this is, but if you tell somebody it's going to be worse than it is, their experience of it will be better than it should be, right? That's I actually just saw like a hiring manager or a business owner talk about that. And this is something like, scaring somebody away from the game. So this person said she tries to make the job sound terrible so that when somebody's in the middle of it, they either, number one, knew what they were getting into, and number two, it's actually not as bad as the business owner said it was going to be. So that, so their expectations, there was a mismatch between, they expected something negative and actually is not so bad. So that's a much more amenable, much more comfortable shift than they expected it to be really good and it wasn't quite as good. Like the difference between, it was going to be bad, but it's a little better is way more significant than, I thought it was going to be good, but it's not quite as good. Like even if there's a way to measure that change, my supposition is that going up a little bit has way more of an impact. Going down a little bit has way more of an impact than going up a little bit. So anyway, that's just from thinking about expectations a lot and studying this stuff with international students at a boarding school a few years ago. There's no science to back that up, but that's been my experience, and I think that's generally the case. So set healthy expectations. This might all sound like tedious, like a lot of work to do, like a lot of steps to remember, but I think some of these things like I naturally build into my teach anyway. Okay, describe the hook. Yeah, I'll put this back in here. Teach the bare minimum of what it takes to get started. Absolutely. So I'm going to call this, I think I've heard this before, but a rolling teach. So I only give players what I think they need to know to start making early decisions. That's it. When other aspects of the game become pertinent, then I'll start to explain them. Like maybe somebody drew a card with a new symbol on it. For example, this is a nice. Actually, I taught this game in China. I've taught it a couple times since being back. Flip 7. So Flip 7 plays like a little bit like blackjack, where you start with the card in front of you, and then the dealer comes around, and you can choose to take another card or stand. And so the majority of the deck is made up of these number cards, and all you need to say is that there are 12 12s, there's 1 1, there's 1 0, and every other number in between, there are that many of that card, right? So you can start playing. Then as you play, you can say your goal is to never have a matching number show up on your board. If you do, you bust. Okay? And with that information, they already know that if they see a 12, then they're likely to see another 12. They're more likely to see another 12 than a 10, for example. They're likely to see 11 at the same rate, but anyway, who cares about the specific probabilities? The point is that they already have a sense of the tension, the stakes in the game. Okay, but then there are also action cards in the game. Well, when you flip an action card, you can describe what it does. And then that'll bring in other things like if you get, if there's the what is it, the flip 3 or the card that makes somebody have to take 3 cards. It could be you, it could be anybody else. Then you add details about, here are these action cards, and you can either use it on yourself or you can use it on somebody else. Okay, then somebody takes 3 cards. Let's say you decide it's you just take the 3. Now you can either see somebody bust, you might see more action cards, or you might see somebody have 5 cards in front of them, and there's a great time to say, also, if you end the round, if you get 7 unique numbers, then you instantly end the round and you get a bonus of 15 points. That's a great time to say something like that, right? So that game is a great example because you need very, very little information to get going, and then the information reveals it, or as new situations arise, then it's time to teach about those situations. Then people can internalize while they've got the initial information or aspect of the game took very little brain power, but now they don't need to use any of it anymore because they've got the core idea. But then when you start adding these other action cards, it'll feel like, wait, no, there's 3 or 4 different action cards. I have to remember all this. But if they remember it during play, and still the game is flying by and they're having fun and they're seeing these crazy moments happen, and they're just kind of naturally absorbing how the game works as you drop little details about these cards, it's a positive experience. If you front load that game, which is a super light game with all of the details of all of the cards, it's gonna feel like a lot. It really is. So the simplest, most exciting, one of the most well-received games in the world could feel like a slog if you don't teach it well. And that, I think, is the point. It's like these games, if you teach them well, most people will have a positive experience most of the time. So if the game is a decent fit or it's within their range, and you teach it or facilitate it well. So okay, so rolling teach the bare minimum of what it takes to get started and include more details as you play. We'll just do that. It's okay to take a few turns and then start over, practice rounds. I guess I still do that. Not Practice rounds might be helpful. But I think if you help people manage their expectations and their feelings, I don't think practice rounds are that important. It's like if the person doesn't understand that this is not a big deal, then you should do a practice round so everybody's like, oh, right. Okay, let's go again for real, right? But some people, if they don't care, then I think you just cruise, like you just get through the game, or you know. Oh, this is still an interesting idea. It's better not to play. I still buy that. I think the main thing is, and this is what I learned from like some of the Magic players at Armchair. They're really good about, yeah, like, hey, Scott, this is a problem. If you don't deal with this, I'm gonna crush everybody. Like, they don't say that as much anymore. Right when I started, they were, you know, they were offering more of that kind of information. And as I play with other people now, you know, I've expanded beyond the people that are just really like beginner focused people. You know, I won't know as much of what's going on, or people are not going to say like, oh, here's a threat. But especially early on, the people were really good about that. I think you can teach and play, but you are going to be, your attention will be divided, and then also your priorities, or like if you're teaching and playing to win, I think that's a problem. I think that's not cool. Because you're going to be withholding like pretty, I don't know, maybe it's not that big of a deal, but I think you're going to be withholding important information from people, like for the sake of your own game, the sake of your own gain as well, that they might feel like, oh, okay, well, cool, right, well, you know what's going on and we don't, so look what you've done to us. Like, some people can have that reaction. Let's see, what else? I think a really important part of the game, a debrief, I think is really important. I'm going to take the bold off this. So debrief the game before the final scoring hits. So what I try to do is I try to jump in, you know, even as people are counting up their scores, or, you know, they're just starting to come, maybe they've got their score and they're starting to look around the table and see how everybody else did or whatever. But before we go all in on feeling good or bad about the outcome of the game, I try to jump in and say, well, how did you like it? Like, what were some of the things that you thought were interesting about the game? And I think what that does is it splits attention between caring about your performance and then scanning your experience for the highlights. So that, I think, it's actually one thing I've generally changed when I ask people, like, the thing like, how was it? Instead of how was it, it might be like, what was your favorite part of that? Or, hey, what went well this week? You know, what are a couple of the highlights of your life for the last 3 weeks or whatever, right? So it's kind of a way of getting people to, it's a way to let the positive like bubble up to the surface. I mean, there will be negative things about their experience too, because when you learn something, you might always feel like you wish you'd done some different things, and well, that's fine. So there's an orientation on what did you like about the game and what would you do differently next time. I think those are the keys. So what did you like? What would you do differently? And the reason, you know, this is very different. Let's say I'm hosting a game. What would you do differently next time? So this is this is an audience question, or an audience consideration, because if I'm learning a game, right? Or if a group of us are learning a game, and maybe even doing it like kind of together, like from the rule book, which is horrible. Don't teach from the rule book. Okay. It's really different. Or if we're playtesting, then there's plenty of reason to focus, almost uh, prioritize focusing on the negative. Because if I'm giving feedback to a designer, I want them to know when I had a bad time. It doesn't mean they're idiots. It doesn't mean their game sucks real bad. But I'm representing the player, right? I'm representing the person who's going to buy that game off the shelf and play through 2 rounds of it and say, what the heck is this? This is terrible. So a designer, in my view, that's a completely different setting. That's a completely different set of goals, right? Like, I want people to break my game, destroy my game, say, I want them to have reasons for making certain comments. I want them to be able to justify, what went poorly and why they think it went poorly. Because some of that I'll integrate, some of it will be against my design goals. So I get to choose that type of stuff, like how to process feedback. I get to choose that as the designer. But if it's a designer setting, then I want to give constructive feedback because I'm representing a certain type of player, right? That's my role. It's not me, a designer, Scott, saying you're an idiot. It's if I'm playing as grandma, or your grandma who has only played cribbage and that's it, or Yahtzee, am I representing her? Am I representing a 7-year-old? Am I representing a family that's breaking open this game and there's a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, and they're gamers, right? Who am I representing here? I should always ask, but usually I advocate for inexperienced players, and that's not what each game is designed for, but that's typically who I advocate for. So I say stuff like, ooh, I think a non-gamer would be lost right here, right? Because I'm the one that teaches them. I'm the one that hosts a lot of games for non-gamers, and I'm the one that sees the light in their eyes die, right? I'm that guy. So I don't want that to happen when I'm teaching. I don't want to teach a game where I do that to people. They glaze over or whatever. So I'm saying, hey, if you want this game for me and my audience, then this is important for you to hear. If not, let's move on. But anyway, that's a very, very different setting from a church game night, right? So that's why I might ask, what did you like? Because I'm not going to pick a game that I don't think somebody's going to like, right? Sure, there will be things you don't like about all kinds of games, but like my goal before I even sit down at the table is to pick a game I think you're going to like. And that, it turns out that I have a decent ability to pick games at this point. Not perfect, but decent. So what do you like? And then what would you do differently next time? And I think that orientation to next time really encourages a growth mindset, because it also assumes that you're going to play again, that there will be this kind of situation you're welcome back to, and we want you here to try this kind of thing again. So I think that's that future orientation, that sense of repetition and trying something again, I think is super, super important. Okay, I didn't think I would be thinking about teaching for so long. We're at 45 minutes. I need to get to back to Sugar Shack. This is really inefficient when I get off on these kind of longer side quests. So a reason I'm getting back here to Sugar Shack is I feel pretty good about the mod I made for Ravens. That was last week, I think, and then the mod I finished for. Oh no, maybe Ravens was Monday, and then South Shore Vibes was yesterday. And I feel good about where we got that. But you know what? This is challenging to jump between. Three games and sometimes more, because I have to sort of remember where I was. But that's cool. I'm glad to be like, this is one reason why I like design, is because of the diversity, because of the different options that are, you know, like it's just something fresh to look through and work on. So where I left off, I think basically is, and the challenge of integrating this new resource. The new resource is action tokens. So you'll see that I placed them on this card already. So the concept here is that you're filling your gift shop display up with bottles of maple syrup. And so whenever you place on your side of the gift shop, you place in your display from bottom to top, you get the bonus in the square or in that little spot. So here you get 2 money, here you take a Sugar Shack action, and here you gain a token. I guess I need to come up with a symbol for you gain a token for next round versus you gain a token right now. Oh, I think I know the... Interesting. So this would be really powerful, but I'm going to do it anyway, just to show that I think we actually already have a symbol. So I think this actually probably works. Right? And then I'll just come over here, get rid of these. Yeah. I don't like this color. Obviously, this is a problem, but it's not something I really want to deal with right now. It might even be better if it was not clear. I'm not really sure, or transparent at all. Anyway, so this would be you gain an action token immediately, right? That's obvious. If there is no flash symbol, then that means you gain the token to your pool for next round. And I don't know how to represent that. Actually, let me try. I'll do this. This doesn't need to be so big. So what I can do here is just add some text. Which style? Oh, should be probably this one. I don't know if this is worth it, but it seems important right now, so I'll just do something like this. Shrink it down for next round. And I'll just lighten it up a little bit, just so it's there, but it's not like a main thing. So for next round, right? So if you gain a token for next round, you would drop it here, and then everything. I don't like this. I don't like that they're. You know, let me swap these really quick. Oops. Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna bring this down here. All right. So they can gain action tokens. They'll have some extra sitting here, and then when it's their turn, for next turn, I should say, for next turn, not round. I wonder if there are hotkeys for some of this stuff. I don't know what they could be. Okay, for next turn. So, there's like a staging area for tokens for the next round. So you add 2, and then whatever you had for the next turn, then you drop those into here, and this becomes your pool. That's not that complicated, I hope. But I like that. I like that. So it's cool. Like adding another currency to a game does open up a lot of these options. Like the difference between earning something now versus earning something next turn is a big deal, right? Earning something now lets you continue, lets you take an extra action, essentially. Big design question, just realized. Do you have to forfeit your action tokens at the end of the turn? Because you could just save up, right? You could just kind of, you could skip some early turns. I think you should be able to. I think you should be able to save tokens. However, that's a bigger design problem because what it means is I can't make anything so powerful that somebody would want to skip 3 turns just to accrue their tokens, and then so that they could go and just like drop a huge bomb and win the game just by skipping a bunch of turns. That's not cool. You know what it also means is there's potential here. Wow. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wow. I think the bank just changed. I think the bank just changed. So, okay. So, what does investment look like? That's the question. So, the bank, I think a loan is still fine. Maybe it's not bank. Maybe it is. Oh, it's this. It's the corporation. Where is it? This one. I think Syrup Inc. just changed. I think what Syrup Inc. is I think it's a way to convert money into action tokens. Um, hmm. Oh, okay. Actually, okay. So you can buy action tokens. Let's just figure this out. So I'm glad, I have a little time to do this. Okay. So this is gone. Like this is not money anymore. It's not instant. Let me go grab a couple other icons. One issue I'm having with this game is that there's too much text on the cards, and what I'm just about to do I think will be confusing. So I'm not happy with that, but maybe it is what it is right now. So the other thing I'm going to grab is this. Okay, I'm going to make a blue one and a red one. So I think this is no longer like Wait a second. Maybe it's not so clear. What I was thinking is, I'll try it. Let me just see how it goes. So I need a blue one. What color? Let me ungroup this. So what is going on here? So this color is this. Okay. What transparency is this set to? 48. Okay, so there is the blue, and then we'll make a red one. What color red? It's bright red. Probably this one. Or this one. It's this one. Okay, so what I was thinking is something like, if you add a token, okay, if you add a token, then the number of tokens could equal your income. Let me get these out of here for now. I was thinking, okay, this could be either a way to invest. This is the word invest is what really hit me. I saw a card in Machikoro, Bright Lights, whatever, that version. I think it's the most recent one. It seems like the most developed one. So they have a way of, like, at the end of your turn, if you place a money on here, then, you know, on this card, then anytime you roll the card's number, you'll get that much income. So it's like a, you know, long-term investment thing. If you just pile money on there, then you're gonna get, I think you get that much money per player or something like that. Pretty awesome. But if you forget it, if you neglect it, or if you have other priorities, then you're not going to get much out of the card. Well, what I'm wondering here is how to I want to make I kind of want to make this a situation where you might pay into it. You pay into it, and then it gives you action tokens. This one version. That's one version of this. The other is the bank. Do I want a loan? Do I like loans? Hang on a minute. Maybe let me undo all this stuff real quick. Oh no. I'm gonna copy this actually, and then undo everything. Okay, now duplicate it, and then, because this might be a new building, honestly. Because I just realized I can, like, maybe I just don't like this concept of a loan. Instead, I think what could be cool is, two things. So I can place action tokens here. And I can spend money to place a token from the supply here. Let me just get rid of these. think I can get rid of all of this stuff with the idea that I'm thinking of. And this would not need to happen anymore. So the bank. So what I'm thinking is you can spend money to place a token, right? So let me just drag these over here. So I want to actually let me take notes before I work on this. Here it is. So I'm thinking to make this one. So there's like a different type of interest here. So I think one of them is to convert money into tokens, right? That's one of these things. And let's say you can spend, ooh, oh, okay. So let's say I spend 3. Or let's say I spend 6. These will need to be red. I like this. I like where this is going. This needs to be red. Actually, let me go get a cost. Where would they be? Just in the upgrades, I think, is the main one. Yeah, let me grab one of these. It's cool how adding one thing. Wait a minute. Where's the... I thought there was a... This is what I wanted. What the minus symbol? Okay, let's just say 3. I feel like this might not be enough, actually. Let's say 6 for now. Okay, so 6 will... Let me do it this way. So 3 money for a token next round, right? Thematically, I don't know how this makes any sense. Doesn't really matter to me right now. I might just change what the building is called. So group these and center these. Okay, and then where did I put that? Right here. Oops, let me copy this guy. Maybe this zoom is kind of crazy to keep track of. Okay, and then, so here is something kind of exciting, right? Like I need an equals. Do I have an equals anywhere in the game? I think I just took it out of the bank. Yeah, I did. No problem. I feel like I'm probably giving you motion sickness here. So isn't this exciting though, as an idea? Okay. So what you can do is you can come here. Ooh. Well, obviously what matters here is how much it costs to activate this building. Because if it costs, a token to get here, and then you spend 6 to get a token back, that doesn't make any sense. No one would ever do that. How should costs work here? I could just make it, I'll just come grab this. So you could come here. This would mean it has to be in tier 1, essentially, right? So I could drop this in like this. I'll just put this up here. So this is basically, if you stop in here to get an extra action token, you know, to do something really cool. That might not be enough. So I was just thinking of this building simply lets you convert money to action tokens. And it's either an investment, like a strategic investment for next round, or it's an immediate strategic investment to do something cool this turn. So let's say you've got, you've got your, yeah, like this has nothing to do with, I don't even think we need these right here. I could just make more options. You know what? I think it's time. I think it's time to just let these go. This seems like a big deal, but it is time. So we'll have this extra space. Because no longer are you like in a place, right? You don't occupy. You just activate. In other words, the worker placement aspect is essentially gone. But it could be that maybe there's a little extra cost if you visit a place that somebody else visited. Could be. But anyway, look at how nice this looks. This looks cleaner. There's a little more breathing room. Maybe this can float down here now. Right? Maybe this could even float up. a touch. All this stuff to go up. And then give it a little more room down here. Cool. So yeah, so I could put the costs kind of down at the bottom, maybe like this. Or is this locked? What happened? Oh. Yeah, see, I don't like this text that it has to be here. But right now it is what it is. This should be a little bigger. Actually, let me move this up. Right, this doesn't need to be that low. Just leave it like that, kinda. So I can increase the size here. Just make it a little easier to read. Okay, maybe this isn't great. Anyway, I can interpret that for players later. This looks good. The bank, I'll come back to that. This I can move down. Yeah, I definitely prefer this here. Oops, what was that about? I don't know why that was there. Okay, this feels like a breakthrough actually. Whatever some of the, that's why I wanna mark. I'm gonna take some notes as I kind of close. Oh yeah, what I can do is increase the price. I'm just gonna add another one here, another tier of investment. So I feel like what Syrup Inc. just became is something like strategic investment, right? That'd be like the way to think about this. So this would be 3. Let's make this 10. Question is, would this ever be worth it? Maybe. So this would have to be in tier 1, of course. So you can spend 3 to add a token to your action pool for next turn. You can spend 6 to gain 1 right now, or you can spend 10 to gain 2 right now. Right? So that's cool. Strategic investment. I like that a lot, actually. Okay, but then the bank, let's actually treat the bank more like, yeah, like this is just out of here. It's still an idea for a building though, so I don't want to kill it completely, but I will subordinate it severely. So in area, I'm just gonna add a little note here. This could this is a building idea about area majority that isn't bad, but it's not working right now. So I don't know what it would be. Maybe this is the flapjack house again. I'm not sure. So we may come back to that. Yeah. Yeah, I overall feel really good about this progress. It's taken a while to click here. The bank, I kind of want to work on the bank a little bit. I think also the town festival is, this as an idea is no longer applicable, because now you're not in a place and able to activate other places. So I'm also going to subordinate this one. I'm going to add a similar note. I like the theming. The theming of the festival, but this is no longer mechanically applicable. Right? So let's drop that in there. So it's good because we still have potentially, you know, two more okay, I actually want to look at this bank before I sign off. So what the bank has just become, it's like the kind of investment thing I was describing. From Machikoro. So I think what you can do is this is a new, let's just bring in an arrow. Okay, this is a new icon which says place a token here, right? Is that centered? I'm not sure. Nope. So this means place place a token here. Actually, let me center these, or put them in the middle. Place a token here, and for every I don't have a symbol for you know, I don't want an income thing that changes what you have to do at the beginning of your turn. I I don't think adding more upkeep to this game would help this game. So what I'm thinking is, so activate it. I would say probably for two tokens. So this might be your whole. Okay. Yeah, this is not good. This color. I don't know what to do about it though. I'm gonna leave it for now. I just obviously I don't like. So I'm gonna make a new icon here. So what this will do is I think I do need some text, unfortunately. Okay, so this will say optionally add a oh, this is a symbol, right? So I can bring this up here. So optionally one so there's a step one, right? Optionally do this thing, right? Optionally. And then a step two, which is oh, I guess I can do this mostly in, so I can just do this. Okay, so this would be the first thing and the second thing, right? Now let me get rid of that. Now I'll copy this, drop it in. And hey, what happened? Oh, no. It's a 2. Okay, now I need the equal sign from over here. I'll just copy you. See, I think like it's this kind of thing, like my experience today doing this is why I love it, right? Like just these little discoveries, these innovations, like, oh, I never thought of that before. That's crazy. How much would this be worth? 3 money? Let me add a question mark. Question mark. Okay, I'll just add this. Equals times. I guess I can do, actually, let me do it like this. Yeah, let me do it like this. Right? I think that makes sense, doesn't it? I think so. So what I like about this, it's both thematic and kind of makes more, it's more mechanically intuitive too. Because I liked the idea of a loan, you know, like that kind of early risk taking. But this is similar um, in that you have to sacrifice, you'd have to sacrifice actions now to do it. But if you do it enough times, by like later in the game, you could be making a ton of money for each activation. And I can increase the size here too. Okay, I think that's good for me. I'll probably pause here in terms of the stream and then. Oh, cool, Francisco, my man. Thanks for jumping in. Appreciate you too. Yeah, we should catch up for sure. But thanks for having a listen. Yeah, I hope you're doing well, making progress. We should debrief your Kickstarter campaign at some point. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Anyway, but for today, I feel good about this. Even though I think I only changed like three or four cards, I think conceptually, this game took a pretty serious leap forward with just the change of 2 cards. So I think that's pretty nuts. Yeah, like in terms of streamlining, that's nuts. Like what just happened is a really big deal. Because they had ideas about upkeep that I thought were cool, but they just kind of added to the busy work and had added to the strain on players to remember steps, you know, to manage. And I feel like that's a tax that I didn't really want in this game, but I was stuck for ideas. And now suddenly with these action token adjustments, with this new kind of economy or currency, it really opened up some cool options. 1 token for 3, 2 tokens for 6, 3 tokens for, yeah. This takes a little bit of the focus off of the syrup, unfortunately, but I think we'll be okay. Yeah, this is exciting. Now I really need to try it. I really need to start getting this play tested again, which means that probably tomorrow is going to be another TTS modding day, because I think this is probably playable. I think so, except for the mayor's favor cards. These all need adjustment. And what else? I don't know. There's some cool changes here. Oh, these need the grant office needs changes. So okay, so maybe tomorrow is another development day, but soon it's TTS modding day. Anyway, thanks for joining. Happy gaming, and I will see you soon. That's me.